Okay, we had a little fuss up earlier. We were trying to stream live, but the internet isn't even working. So we decided to do a recorded session. So let's start
Sure.
from the beginning, Zach.
Sure.
Cheers, because we forgot to do that.
Cheers to you, Daniel.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We had a good conversation going at first, so let's see if we can wind it right back and just go from
Sure.
the beginning, and I'll delete the live stream.
Okay.
So, Bitcoin, guys, that's what we're talking about today. The just overall power of Bitcoin in today's society and where it started from and how versatile it is and basically where it's coming and where it came from and where it's going. So, Zach, why don't you kick us off?
So 2 years ago, I got introduced to Bitcoin. I was picking teams for the Super Bowl, and for this sports site, they actually didn't take U.S. dollars. They made you buy Bitcoin, and then the Bitcoin was converted onto the website for U.S. dollars.
Nice.
So to get registered for Bitcoin, I had to go through a longer than I thought process. I had to get verified through my bank and give my banking account, my routing number.
Yeah.
Had to prove employment. And then they took 3 or 4 days just to get verified for that.
I'm surprised that you had to go through all those hoops to do something that, especially, what was it, a couple of years ago it seemed, or what was it? It was like, you said it was, what year?
16.
2016?
Mm-hmm.
So that was 2 years ago, and you had to go through all that to get digital currency.
Just to get the digital
to
currency.
give them money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But once I got Bitcoin, it was then, like I said, converted to U.S. dollars for the football teams.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like I said, 2 years ago, the Bitcoin value was actually $200 just 2 years ago in Bitcoin
I
value.
wish I had bought it at that point.
Yeah.
When it started out, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was fractions of cents. Like it was like 6 cents to a Bitcoin or something like that. And what's it worth today? 16.5, 17,000?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 17,000 for one Bitcoin when man.
So I've just seen a kind of like a nickname or slogan for Bitcoin, the currency for the people, because it's decentralized. There's no central middleman.
Yeah. There's no link to anything.
Right.
It's not associated with any sort of element or anything, because you're mentioning that the U.S. dollar is linked to the gold standard.
Right.
So the value of gold goes up, the U.S. dollar goes up essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But this is basically funded by the people.
Right.
Nice.
Right. So with everyone that has a Bitcoin account, it's a straight exchange. So if you had a Bitcoin account, and I did, and we wanted to exchange a hamburger, it would just go straight exchange, from me to you. It wouldn't go to a centralized bank.
Yeah.
Or it wouldn't go to, like I said, a middleman or a central person. So that cuts out your, it could be taxes, cuts out just any type of extra handling of exchanges.
Yeah, okay.
So
basically, I mean, that's where we were talking about the benefits of universal currency and what it would actually be, because if I wanted to buy something over in Europe and I didn't have euros, I could buy it with Bitcoin because there's no exchange rates. That's the most frustrating part, is dealing with the fact that when you want to go to another country, you have to spend money to get their money. It's not just a flat exchange, because that's how companies make their money, and you can't go to banks over there because you don't have an account with them. They don't trust your money. And so Bitcoin would be the best way to get around that. Or you could even withdraw money from, they have Bitcoin ATMs from what I remember.
Right.
You could withdraw money from a Bitcoin ATM and have no fee associated with it. See, that's where I think it links to the future possibilities of Bitcoin.
Just the one advantage, like I was saying, if I wanted to, say, transfer money over to Europe, the banks here, anything over $10,000, if I wanted to transfer $10,000 to France, the bank would question me and say, investigate, why is he giving
Where did this come from?
$15,000 to France?
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, it's a direct exchange from one Bitcoin user in Georgia, let's say here in the U.S., to another in France with no taxes, no administrative costs.
That's
It can just
that's
so
valuable right there.
More efficient. Like I said, it's a direct exchange, no bank or even international countries, because they're saying a lot of international companies can freeze bank accounts.
Foreign bank accounts, yeah. So I think that's ridiculous. It's your money. Why are they freezing it? Unless you're under investigation for like murder or something. Right. But even then, they could have speculation, and then they'll just freeze it anyways, just in case. I don't know. Well, today I actually ended up buying some Bitcoin, or a form of Bitcoin, because from what I read, there's four types that I know of off of Coinbase, which is a phone app that you can use to purchase these digital currencies, or cryptocurrencies is what you called it. Right. And I bought Ethereum, and it was surprisingly easy for me, but your experience, it seemed like you had to go through all those hoops with that. I guess they kind of learned from the ordeal of bank accounts, and now you can just buy it with debit cards, but you're limited to only $750 a week. So if you were wanting to buy a legitimate Bitcoin, you would have to link up your bank account to where you could wire money.
Yeah, I remember when I registered, it was just bank account information to register for Bitcoin. You couldn't use credit card or debit card. So.
And they had websites back then. They didn't have app stores or nothing.
That's true.
Because this is 2013. I'm trying to think. 2013, I graduated. Yeah, so it was like that iPhone was just on iPhone 4 at that point, or the iPhone 3, 3G, I think was what it was.
Yeah, you didn't really pay using apps.
No. That was people didn't even think about like Venmo. Venmo's become one of the most usable apps that I've come to use. But what do you think is the one thing that people should look out for when doing that? Or what's the thing that you didn't like the most? Or what do you think is something uncomfortable about Bitcoin?
Well, one, I guess, negative that people are leery about Bitcoin is the security of Bitcoin, because you see people getting scammed they're applying for Bitcoin, and it's actually a scam agency. Because, if you would give, say, your bank account or your debit card to a scam Bitcoin artist, but they were saying, or even how one scenario of what if a hacker could hack into my Bitcoin account?
Yeah, they could take it.
And then, use that value. But every Bitcoin user has a specific like a security code or an address, a Bitcoin address.
Yeah.
So in every Bitcoin transaction is dated and given a specific transaction number.
Can you access those?
Yes.
You can? Can you access one specifically for your account?
For a transaction?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So you could see what happened and where it went.
Every transaction has a specific number. It's dated. What time and what date. So there's always a record.
Okay. So you could actually end up finding out, okay, this is the guy that took it. I'm wondering, because I don't know if it's ever happened, because I've heard a couple cases where people weren't able to get their money back because someone took their Bitcoin, and it just comes down to it's not a tangible object. So there was no way to link a case of what's been stolen, because technically nothing's been stolen. So I wonder if with that transaction record, you could actually charge a person with that. Or would there be a way to find out who did it based off that account information?
From what I read, they were saying that since everyone has a specific address for their Bitcoin, everyone is personalized, where you can't come in through a different identity. To use someone else's Bitcoin. So everyone is encrypted and specific for them. So
when I registered to purchase, I wanted to buy the Bitcoin yesterday. Glad I didn't, by the way, because it's gone down. But when I wanted to buy it, I had to take a picture of my license front and back, and I had to put in my street address, all sorts of stuff. I was a little uncomfortable, but I have a few friends that have done Coinbase before, and they've had no problems with them. And so I was like, okay, I can trust this. And today I finally made the purchase of Ethereum, and then but it's still uncomfortable because you're basically giving all this information to an app, and I feel like anybody could just hack in, and at one point they could just steal everything if they got good enough. But I don't know.
From videos I've watched and just some articles I've read, they've just have said that the security every day is getting better and better for Bitcoin accounts and to just prevent the hackers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's one of those, I guess, for lack of better, the Bitcoin banks. You could say, like Coinbase and all that. Bitcoin banks, their main focus, besides trying to increase their manpower, because it's just exploded over the past few months or year, is probably security upon security upon security, because the more they grow, the more they are vulnerable for hacks and attacks of all sorts of stuff. So I'm not sure. Well, then I see that being a negative. Is there any other negatives that you see with it?
One other negative is that, the U.S. were backed, like you said, with gold. There's nothing actual tangible that is being backed by Bitcoin.
Can't hold it.
Right. So they were saying, what if Bitcoin goes under?
Everyone loses their money. Yeah.
But to turn that into a positive, since it's not backed by something tangible, say as gold, like I was telling you earlier, less actual overhead cost.
Yeah.
Compared to gold, you have to store gold, you have to find a place to mine gold.
Yeah.
You have the taxes of gold.
Yeah.
So the less overall overhead cost for Bitcoin will be cheaper, no taxes for Bitcoin.
For sure.
So that one negative can also be a positive.
Yeah. I see that, honestly. I see why people would be scared of it, about the tangibility and not being able to hold the object or not being able to see it. But I think that's more of a positive for me for what you just said. There's no fees going in to mine the Bitcoin or to get the Bitcoin or have Bitcoin stored, protected, or anything. All those are just powered by the users, the people that buy the Bitcoin. So the more people buy, the more valuable it is, and the more that sells, the less valuable it is. So I think once people start realizing how, I really think it's honestly the future currency. Eventually it'll be the Earth currency, where it's like, oh yeah, I get paid in Bitcoin every day, and then eventually it'll just be understood. Oh, this is a relative wealth amount, and there's not going to be deviations with currency exchange rates. And oh well, the euro's worth more. Eventually, there isn't going to be a euro. There's just going to be Bitcoin, or there's just going to be money. That's where I see it going, honestly.
Well, just with Bitcoin, I thought it was a cool concept with mining, how Bitcoin is verified. Every Bitcoin account is verified through Bitcoin users or any personal computer around the world.
Could you go into more detail about that?
Yeah, so it's called Bitcoin mining. That's a way you can actually earn Bitcoin. And they will get access to your computer to use your computer software to run mathematical algorithms, which are verifying the Bitcoin users around the world, everyone's account, that the actual Bitcoin amount is verified or legit. So that's
people are getting paid to just allow them access?
Yes.
Do you know what the rate is? Because I'm going to register right now.
Well, the downside is the amount of power that is generated from, and people are actually going on the mass scale. I saw a video of a warehouse plant that used $80,000 worth of power per month for their power bill. They had a warehouse full of computers just running algorithms.
So these are businesses that are, their sole business purpose is to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That
So for
is
people
such
out there,
a clever
just YouTube
terming of it, because now
Bitcoin
it makes total
mining.
sense. Yeah. That's because at first y'all hear mining Bitcoin, I thought that was just people buying Bitcoin. No, it's
No,
People actually using computers to calculate
to calculate.
verifications of, and
Mhm.
that's how you get paid. Oh, that is
Yeah.
so smart.
So that's a genius idea by Bitcoin. They're using the public who is willing
Yeah.
to use their software.
Now that is where it makes so much sense now, because I watched a documentary from Amazon Prime. I'll show it
Mhm.
to you after.
Sure.
It's called Rise and Rise of Bitcoin, and it talks about these people back when Bitcoin actually started and the first value was ever marked on it. I want to say it was about 50% of a cent, so it was like half a cent, or it was 6 cents. I couldn't remember. And people were buying it, and people saw it being worth something, but nothing really changed. Eventually it went up to like $31 and then back down to 7 and 13. But I saw them, one of the guys that was one of the main guests or speakers for the documentary, he and his friends were always investing in these computer parts and everything. I was like, why are they? I don't. I couldn't actually understand that, but now that you explained what they're doing with that, it was crazy. And one of the fun facts that I saw is, I'll remind people, one Bitcoin is worth $16,700 right now. One Bitcoin. The first transaction ever registered was 10,000 Bitcoins for someone to
Really?
buy a pizza. And
Huh.
it was from someone in New York, and someone in Europe was paid 10,000 Bitcoin to order a pizza and have it delivered to his apartment. So I'm gonna do that calculation right quick. I think it's like $100 some odd million if I can find it. Calculator. Let's see, 16,500 times 10. 1, 2, 3. $165 million. So hopefully that guy
How was
kept
that
that
pizza?
10,000. Yeah. The guy that's eating the pizza is like, damn it.
Yeah, how was that?
That cost me $165 million. But that is just amazing where it's come from, and how much has grown over the year, because it made news once it hit 13,000 in December, because it went from $700 last January to 13,000 at the beginning of December, and from December to now it's gone up 3,000 some odd dollars, 4,000. It peaked out at 19.2 at one point, but it's gone down and up, down and up. But I think this is that turning point where people are going to realize this is worth way more than what people are realizing, and I just see it. It's going to steadily grow. That's personally what I see. What do you think?
Yeah, just with that mining concept, that's
Yep.
gaining more and more popularity
Yeah.
because people feel like they actually have a part of the company and they're making money
Yeah.
from it too. But it's from what I read and videos I've watched, just general at-home computers, it's too slow. And then they tried to upgrade with actually uh, video game,
Consoles.
consoles.
I heard about that. Yeah.
To try, and now it's on a mass production where it was.
You can buy Bitcoin machines.
But like I said, they had a warehouse full of the fastest speed of processors and computers, 24/7. They were just computing algorithms for Bitcoin.
$80,000 a month.
Yeah, it was the power bill at this one.
That's
warehouse.
what I'm wondering is base. It obviously you're going to get paid based off of the rate that you can process. So I'm wondering, like, well, I wonder what that pay rate versatility is.
He was saying 20 to 25 Bitcoin per day was being produced, and he had 6 of these mass warehouses.
6 of those, and he was getting 20 to 25. So I mean, he's getting a couple $100,000 a day. So he's doing fine with that $80,000 bill.
Yeah. So just anyone can go on YouTube and just look at the Bitcoin mining videos to see how to and what phenomenon this is.
Shoot, I'm gonna look at that. That'd
it's
be a
just
good business.
interesting.
I mean, if it only costs, let's say, $10,000 to start up, based on how much money you'd be making, if you can harvest a fraction of a Bitcoin, it's a couple $100 a day, a couple $100 over a course of a month every day. Granted, we don't have reliable internet where we are, so obviously I wouldn't be a good candidate at this location. I have to move to like Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet that'd be a great place for a
That's
hub.
true.
They've got the fastest
Fiber
internet in the
optics.
world.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's even thought of that. And I just am releasing this to the internet,
Yeah, I know.
all to the world. People are just like, oh, look at fiber optics, Chattanooga. The fastest internet you can find is
Well,
actually in Chattanooga, from what I've been told.
that's true. Contact Daniel for potential.
I got people that work at TVA. Maybe they could hook it
Rep
up with
ideas.
power distributions. Like, can y'all concentrate at this building? Yeah.
So that was another reason why they said, say there's a huge mass power outage in the U.S. or Europe, Bitcoin can still run functionally because there will still be
Other
computer
computers going.
processing around the world.
Yeah, it'd have to be
So
a
it'd
total
have to
power
be,
loss. You're
a
like
global
loss. In
power
which case, there's a
outage.
much bigger concern
Right?
going
Yeah,
on.
I don't think you'd worry about Bitcoin.
Yeah, at that point, you don't even care about money. It's about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man. Well, okay. Based on that, what are the positives?
From
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Just going back again, how there is no central bank or there's no central government
Yeah.
that you have to go through to exchange money.
That is good. No governing body, because then also they can't control it. It's controlled by the people,
Right.
100%. I do like that aspect of it. I'm not one of those conspiracies like we need to get less government control, but when it comes to money, that is a very powerful thing to have power over, and then have a governing body can't control it. I think that's very beneficial.
And the phenomenon, it's called double spending. So they were saying how if I wrote a check and say I only had $100 in my bank account, and I wrote a check to Bob and Jim, and both were $100 checks that I gave to Bob and Jim, and I only had $100.
Yeah.
And the bank account, obviously, if both cashed my check, one check would bounce.
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, it prevents that double spending.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can't give more than you got.
Right.
The whole time.
You can never go below your Bitcoin amount.
And you won't get charged with an overdraft fee because you can't overdraft. That's just smarter all the way around.
That was actually, in most of the videos, that was actually the number one point that was mentioned about how Bitcoin, going back to again about the direct exchange between currency, the number one positive or the number one feature of Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of looking at it because you're controlled the whole time. People can't overdo it. They can't cheat the system unless they find out. Tell me how. And then I don't know. I think it is a good point. Are there any others?
Let's see.
Honestly, the list could go on.
Yeah.
You could think about it in different ways. The versatility, no exchange fees. That's the one that really pings to me because with work I travel over, and that is one of the biggest pains. Spending money over there. Yeah, even with a debit card, exchange fees plus the plus processing fee for having the exchange fee. So
the international concept, like I was reading that your hotels that cater to international business travelers or just for vacation travelers are starting to use Bitcoin more with international online shopping. Yeah, using Bitcoin more.
I think that's smart.
And it will work for both the buyer and the business with no tax, no conversion rate for currencies. Yeah. So both, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. I mean, especially once businesses start accepting it, people are going to realize, oh, it's another way of doing it, especially international businessmen. I'm sure they're already picking up on it like, yeah, it's the best way because I don't have to go to a bank. I don't have to get exchanges. I don't have to worry, is my credit card going to be working over in the other country? I can just, bam, transfer it over and you're accepted. That's really good. What's another one you think of?
Just with how some governments can, with banking accounts, like I said, they could freeze your bank account, international governments. So you would never have international governments or businesses looking over your shoulder, or you would never have to worry about,
Yeah.
any international exchange of currency.
They don't have any
being
sort of
stopped.
control over it. Yeah.
Right.
They don't have access to it.
Mhm.
I wonder how that works with taxes. Let's say you buy it for $200 somehow. You made $16,000. Now you sell it. Do you pay gains on your Bitcoin, or how would that work? I don't know. Have you had any
You're saying
information on that?
if you sold your Bitcoin,
Sold your Bitcoin for a profit.
I would
Assume
assume it'd be
capital
kind of like
gains.
stock. If you sell off your stock, you'd have to report it as part of your income.
Oh,
I
okay.
would assume. I mean, that might be a future.
Yeah.
If I don't come back, maybe you could throw in another investment talk and say,
Yeah.
this is.
If I can find someone who works like at this, I know someone who works for, I think it's security, like cyber security, for is it Goldman and Sachs?
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs.
Mm-hmm.
If he could find a friend that's going to travel down with him to Dalton, they'll be like, "Hey, why
Yeah,
don't you come on the
I know.
podcast and talk about that?" But I think the other thing that companies should really be looking at are 401k companies, Roth IRA, because we were talking about with Vanguard, they have a structured system where it's a risk factor based on how many years you want to have the IRA before you start withdrawing. Depending on how many years you are out, you're going to have more money in stocks and less money in bonds, because bonds are very stable. Stocks can gain more money but are more risk.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, it slowly starts to level out and then switch to where your stock has less money and then your bonds have more, because
Right.
it's much more stable. You can't afford to lose a percentage when you have $1 million at that point. So I wonder what the first, because it's got to happen, the first retirement company to offer Bitcoin investment,
Yeah.
Bitcoin contribution, because they
Mhm.
have access to millions of dollars in funds.
Mm-hmm.
And if they bought a Bitcoin today and it goes up 5% in a day,
Mm-hmm.
not 5% over a year, which is what they're used to, or 7%, rate of return. We're talking about a rate of return. If they had done it the beginning of this year, the beginning of last year, they'd have a rate of return of 1,700%.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
Can't beat that.
no, you can't. I
beat
mean,
that.
I wonder if they've even thought of it. There's got to
Mhm.
be someone who's actually mentioned it to their 401k, like the boss. Someone's like, hey, we should offer this Bitcoin program, or at least include Bitcoin as part of the stock program,
Mhm.
where it could diversify, and then a portion of your funds goes to a Bitcoin account
Mm-hmm.
that is personalized for you or personalized for the company, and they understand how much you've contributed. You get that fraction.
Mm-hmm. From just your financial gurus, people say get, like you said, so many percent stocks, so many percent bonds, so many percent silver and gold.
Yeah.
From what I've been reading, they're kind of staying away from investing a lot in Bitcoin just because of the volatility of it.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying 1,700, 1,600 this year, but just 2 years ago, 900, and then
Yeah.
even 2015, 200.
Yeah.
So if Bitcoin can consistently be stable or consistently be at this high level that it is
Yeah.
over a long period of time,
That's
then
when they're
you
going
would,
to start
yeah,
looking.
then you would see.
Well, I mean, maybe if they sold it as a program where it was a high risk, high win,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, why don't you just give us $1,000 and let's see where this can get you?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have gotten you a lot of money. And
Mhm.
then I've honestly looked at it doing as my own personal investing, as in, instead of, I have contributions in a 401k, I have contributions in a Roth IRA. I want to invest in rental property or flipping a house.
Okay. Like
I've thought about,
diversify.
diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
Why not take a portion, say $50 every paycheck or $50 every month, buy a Bitcoin, and that's what I'm thinking about doing. To where on a paycheck to paycheck basis, I was like, oh, here's money for food, here's money for bills, here's money for loans, here's money for Bitcoin, here's money I get to spend, and just like make it a part of your routine, based on its growth. That could be your retirement plan, and you're going to be rich.
Right.
You're going to make money, especially once people start realizing the versatility of it. I really think this is going to be one of the biggest things in the upcoming years. We were talking yesterday on the podcast with Cody about electric cars, one of the biggest inventions, and that's going to be the next big thing what automotive companies are going to push. But I think overall, technology-wise, or just the next advancement is the recognition of the power of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general. I think people really should start looking at it personally. Do you plan on doing any more with Bitcoin? Do you plan on actually spending some?
Yeah, I plan, just like you said, just a little bit every month or every so many weeks, just to see where the actual price per Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
Right now, the past year, it's gone up, like you said, over to $1,700.
1,700%.
$17,000. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. High numbers.
Not used to that much.
Yeah. So just that gain in 1 year, just at least get a little bit, like I was saying, just to have a full, diversification portfolio.
Yeah, and it doesn't even stop there because there's different types of cryptocurrency. It's not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the most recognized because of how valuable it is. You have Bitcoin Cash. You have Ethereum, I think, or Ethereum. That's what I have. And then you have Litecoin. And you can even diversify even deeper. Like Bitcoin might not do great today, but Litecoin's doing wonderful. Bitcoin Cash is winning, but Ethereum's dropped, or Ethereum, or whatever the hell name it is. I am very excited to see where it comes out to. Honestly, I'm glad I gave in and just said, okay, I'm going to buy some today, and then, like I said, next paycheck, $50, boom, $50, boom, and if you win, you win. If you don't, I'm glad I at least took a chance.
That was, I guess, another detractor of Bitcoin that someone would say 2 years from now, 10 years from now, what if Bitcoin isn't the main cryptocurrency being used?
Get another.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But with Bitcoin, I think I was reading too that it started getting popular in Japan. Because 2008 was when I believe it was founded, and
I think so.
It was solely in Japan, but the online shopping increase is one of the things, especially international, is what really got Bitcoin popularized and just on a bigger level, a mass and international level.
Yeah, and the thing that I guess to put on a negative is they have yet to determine who actually made Bitcoin. No one knows who started Bitcoin. They believe they found him a couple of years ago, I'd say like 2011, 2013, but he had like an online account. Hasn't said anything for a while. He disappeared for a while, and they thought they had him. I can't remember what his name was, Naruko or something. And after it came out, the account was finally accessed again, his online account, and he put a post saying, "I am not that guy.
Wow.
Like, that's not me." And so I was like, crap, no one knows who started it, and it's become such a wild phenomenon. And there's people who, I bet they've got 100,000 Bitcoin, and it's just exploded. And now they're super wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. Let's see, if you had 100,000 Bitcoin, I'm curious now, 100,000. I can't do that math in my head, even though it's just adding zeros. Let's say it's 17,000. I mean, you're looking at $1.7 billion. God,
chunk of change.
Dang. $1.7 billion. Imagine if the government had just invested in it themselves. Debt paid off. National debt gone. If they had, I can imagine. I don't know. But I like the idea of it overall. The idea of bringing the power to, not power to the people, but bringing the power to all of Earth, like all population of Earth. Everybody on Earth has an equal contribution or equal power in it. Obviously people with more money are going to have more of it, but everyone has an opportunity to get even a fraction, because you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy up to 8 decimal places of Bitcoin, meaning, let's say 16,000 right now, 500. times 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can spend. Well, I can't even get it in pennies. Let's see. Times 100. You can buy. You can buy 1% of a penny of Bitcoin if you wanted. Everyone has a possibility to
It'll
invest
add
in
up
it.
too.
Yeah, exactly. 1 penny adds up over time. Was it compound annual interest?
Mm-hmm.
I was checking and I was like, if you got 7%, let's say I got 7% gains on $95 of Bitcoin every day. You know, first day you're gonna have a slow bet. It's gonna be $1. You've gone up $6, and now you've gone up 7. Now you've gone up 8. You've gone up over 9. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now you've got $450 from that in 20 days. And then it just gets compounded even more, and now you got $1,700 in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got $6,300 in 2.5 months. And it's amazing.
Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Right there wins that race.
Yeah. But that's not even slow and steady. That's 2.5 months is fast.
Right.
That's fast relative to a lifetime.
7% gain every day. That's
That's
not slow and steady.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
It's unheard of to have a gain like that. And people were thrilled when the Dow Jones hit what was it 23, 25?
25 this week.
That was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
25. How long did it take from the crash to get to 25?
Now 11 years.
11
years. 2008.
So and what was it at the lowest point? 13,000.
It was below 10.
It was below 10.
I was in undergrad.
Let's just give it a chance and say 8,000 times. I don't know how to do compounded annually. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So honestly, it's gained about a little over 9% every year. A year.
Mm-hmm.
Where cryptocurrency is gaining 7% daily.
That's
the money, people. See where the future is.
Yeah, that's the excitement about it.
That's what I love about it. I love it.
The sudden rise in popularity and growth.
Yeah, if you can get an influx of cash, and I'm waiting for Bitcoin investment firms. This has got to be the next big thing. It's like, oh, I've got this. I was like, all right, we sold it. Once we saw it going down, we sold it, and then once it went back up, buy it again, sell it. Just a controlled purchase, selling, and buying of Bitcoin, and that's. Eventually, it's all going to be automated.
Right. I feel like it would be first more popular in Europe because I saw in Greece the universities are using that for their tuition, their enrollment.
Smart.
And with
even though they're economically unstable right now, right?
Yeah.
But wait, there was a story about that on that documentary that I watched. Sorry to interrupt, but it was the Rise and Rise of Bitcoin, people. It's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, Rise and Rise of Bitcoin. It's pretty interesting. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, incredible show, but it was interesting learning about the history of Bitcoin. But one of these countries just crashed, and no one could get their, when I say crash, their banks closed. No one could get access to their money. No one had money. And Bitcoin came in and dropped off where they could deposit money to get Bitcoin. They dropped off all these ATMs around that country, and people did that. And this was back when it was worth like $33 a Bitcoin or $100 a Bitcoin. Now, that country's sitting wealthy, buying every Lamborghini they can find. And
what country was that?
I can't even remember the name. It was a unique name. I'd have to look it up. The internet's working now, so I could probably check, but I'm afraid... I'm still frustrated. I'd really like to do live streaming. I really don't like to do a recorded session, but I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it would have cut out like 5 times, and then I would have been mad the whole time.
But the going back to a detractor, the security concern was one thing why I haven't gotten more into Bitcoin. So that's why I say maybe I don't have to come back on, but you just have another financial or investing segment in the podcast. Just give an update on what security advances.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. One of the friends in the group text, he hasn't come to the house yet. You haven't met him. His name's Miguel Hurtado, and he's been doing Bitcoin for a while, and he's the one that told me about where, like, go get this app, so on and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And I've actually asked him to come on the podcast, and because he's been doing Bitcoin for more than most people that I know.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, I don't think I know anybody that's been doing it for over a month. He's been doing it for a while, from what I hear. And he talked about, like I was saying, he's like, hey, I'm looking at buying Bitcoin. It's like, wait a day. It's going to go down, and then buy it. So I did, and he's absolutely right. So he, hopefully he can come on the podcast. So Miguel, we're calling you out.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have him come on maybe a couple weeks from now, see where Bitcoin's at. So put it as a start point. It's at 16.7 right now, I guess, off the top of my head. So 16.7, 16.5. So we'll see where it's at. It could crash down to $200 for all we know tomorrow. But I think I'd be surprised if it did. But, you know, what do I know? Anyways, so I think it's a good idea, having like a Bitcoin. I mean, if anything, just having a quick weekly update.
Right, yeah, I was going to say just a future update to see this is where Bitcoin, the prices gained or dropped a little bit, and just the advances of, like I said, security and just the growth in, could be here in the U.S. or even in Europe or Asia, the popularity of Bitcoin. It's gonna
be the next big thing. I like the idea that Greece has, where universities are using that for tuition payments. That's smart on their part, because you know, their economy's bad, so they're just looking for anything to do. And if they've been doing that for a while, I think they're going to have a turnaround soon. So, or at least the school is. I don't know how it works.
Did your friend know anything about the mining of Bitcoin?
We didn't go into too much discussion. Once, because I sent a message to the guys in the group text. Y'all listeners, you'll hear the guys from the group text. It's a group of friends that I went to high school with, and we all keep in touch, and we communicate through this group text. We don't text each other directly, very rarely. So I just told them, it's like, hey, you know, I was telling them I was going to have you on to talk about Bitcoin and talk about pros, cons, where it's going, where it's been. And Pacheco, hopefully another guest coming on soon, he was mentioning how Miguel and his roommate and Pacheco, how they were all talking about Bitcoin the other night. And that's where I asked the discussion, hey, I downloaded Coinbase. Who should I go through? He said GDAX, and GDAX is a associate of Coinbase, or they run through Coinbase. So it's very secure, but they have a much better detail as to the growth. It's not quite the line chart that you see. You can control the dates a lot better and find trends by controlling, what was it in the past hour? What was it in the past 3 hours? What about the past week and a half from this date to this date? What happened? So, and he just, like I said, he gave me the recommendation, wait a day, don't buy it yet. And now that I've got this, it's growing, and I've already made some money on it. I made $5. I just checked. But when I said, oh, never mind, I won't grab my phone, between the live stream and this recorded.
From 10-15 minute span?
15 minute span, made $5. So it went up another 5. So I think it was at 12%, and I had it at 5% earlier. So I don't know. I see a lot of power coming from this for sure. But if you ask me, I think, do you have anything else?
Well, just another detractor is, right now, from what I was reading in videos, it's just that sense of drastic change. Yeah. For a lot of people, you know, is a big fear.
Yeah, for sure.
From what I was reading, it still won't, you know, replace, you know, U.S. dollars in the near future. Yeah. But just the alternative, just the different option for currency. Yeah. Is still, you know, making a very popular, viable. Yeah. Currency. So
I'll have to look into that. There's actually something else I was wondering with Coinbase. I was like, I wonder, when you sell it, can you transfer it to your debit card? I'll have to look into that and answer it on the next Bitcoin podcast or next investing podcast. I don't know. I agree though that people aren't ready, or most people aren't mentally prepared for that, because I mean, they're used to the slow and steady growth of a retirement fund, 401ks, Roth IRAs, as we were talking about earlier. When you jump from that and say, all right, you know, that growth that you have year to year, we're going to change it to a day-to-day basis. That's scary, in all honesty, because you could have a bad year where you lost 2%, man. You lose 2% in a day. You're like, shit. Especially if you have a good investment, and then it could go down 2%. It's nothing for Bitcoin in a day. It could go down 30%. Litecoin went up in a week. It's gone up 34%. So I mean, talking 5% day-to-day basis, and I don't know.
And just another detractor, how we have actual printed money, it's tangible. We can touch it. We can feel it. Something we can see.
You can't recognize
Bitcoin,
it. Yeah.
It's all just either through your app or just an online transaction. So
I'm wondering if there's going to be a company that's actually going to print Bitcoin. As in, it's like, all right, man, I'll ship you a Bitcoin. And they'll ship them fractions of Bitcoin. And it'll be like a scannable item where it has that square key. And it'll recognize, there you go, that's 0.015 Bitcoin to your account.
Yeah.
So you could actually carry it around to you and just be like, here you go, here's a couple Bitcoin. So I wonder if a company would actually attempt to make it a tangible object. All you gotta do is print it on some bottle caps and you're done.
Mm-hmm. But going with the Bitcoin, every user has their specific security encryption.
Mm-hmm. So, but like, I wonder if there'd be a way where you could scan it to where it would
go to your personal.
Yeah,
one?
Where it basically is like deposit Bitcoin, and you like have a scan function on your app for Coinbase, so on and so forth. I think they'd run out of square keys right away. Yeah. So it would have to be.
I was thinking we get like
serial
a chip
codes
implanted in our wrist.
Yeah.
Or a scanner.
That's where it goes to the future. That's when government control goes too far.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like where this is going, man. It's been a good talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to end it and see where the users take this. Do you have any other information to say?
No, I was just saying I hope there is a part 2 or just continued Bitcoin or investment or cryptocurrency podcast.
I'm gonna make sure to see if I can get Miguel on here, because I've actually had a couple people say to bring him on here. I wasn't sure what we talk about, but after this discussion and after talking to him yesterday, I think this topic is excellent for him. He works with computers, understands coding, so he could probably introduce us to a depth of Bitcoin to where we'd understand mining at a much deeper basis, rather than saying, "Oh, you need computers to run it." He'll explain, "This is why you need the computer to run it."
Yeah, a video I probably watched was like mining Bitcoin for dummies or something made simple.
It's like,
give me the basics.
First you press play and then you get money, and it takes electricity out. The byproduct is that. No, that's another. I maybe talk to Cody about that. I'll talk to Cody about it tomorrow at work, saying new business idea, mining Bitcoin.
Yeah. Maybe.
See what the investment is and see what you can pull out of it. It'd be worthwhile. Well, Zach, thanks for coming on the podcast to talk about it.
Thank you, Daniel.
All right, man. Well, we are going to end the podcast right about now. See you later, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye. Oh, wait, people, before I end, don't forget to like and subscribe on my YouTube and follow the Instagram page, Skewed Reality Podcast. It's spelled just like it sounds. Nothing crazy. You can follow Zach, too, on Instagram. I can't remember what your Instagram is.
ZACHV103.
We'll keep you posted on the Bitcoins throughout the years. Hopefully we'll see what happens with it. All right, people. See you later.